I want to talk a little more about this move away from the neoliberal order. And Ambassador Arun Singh, the election was a roller coaster ride and an unprecedented one, a very emotionally charged one at that. And it showed us both the good and the ugly side of the American society, but certainly a more extreme side dominated. Is this election a way of American society signaling that they are moving away from liberalism, multiculturalism, and globalization?
So I find that in many of the elections and other events that happen, there are many factors that come into play. And everyone who is trying to interpret it picks on something that they like and attribute the result to that one factor over and above all the other factors. So I think it would be perhaps not right to just pick one factor and say this is the reason why the change has happened. I think there are many factors that came into play. So if we go back, for instance, to the 2016 election, where Donald Trump really emerged, and one very important argument at that time was that jobs have been taken away from America. And jobs have been taken away under the phase of globalization that was pursued earlier by both Democratic and Republican administrations in the US. Bill Clinton happened in that phase when we entered into the phase of, after the dissolution of the Soviet Union, the unipolar phase in global affairs. And although Bill Clinton had initiated it, brought China into the WTO, George Bush took it forward and continued with that. And we saw that continuing also in the Obama administration. So as a result of this, overall US GDP had grown till we saw the shock of 2008, the financial shock. The elite in the US had clearly benefited. And again, from the reports that had come out, top 1% of the US was making 40% of the income and had 40% of the wealth. But the middle 40 to 50% of the population, which had in the earlier phases saw its situation improve, for them, there was stagnation in wages as capital from the US moved to other parts of the world to maximize profit. Death rates had gone up, drug addiction had gone up, longevity had come down. So it was this segment of the population that felt that whatever policies the US was adopting was not working for them. And then Trump came with this message that the elite is ignoring you, they're not taking care of your concerns, and I will step in and take care of your concern and address the challenges that you have faced. So that continues to be a dominating phase, because even if you see in this election, among the issues that came to the fore, and despite the fact that, as Professor Arun Singh mentioned, it was a historical candidacy, a woman, an African American woman, a South Asian American woman, an Indian American woman. So despite that, many segments, as Pramit also mentioned, did not vote along ethnic lines or consideration of voting for another minority candidates. So the issues that came into play, one was the economy. So obviously, whatever had happened earlier, and there were attempts to revive the economy, and in the Biden-Harris administration, you saw the Chips and Science Act, the Infrastructure Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, through which determined effort was made to bring manufacturing back into the US, including in high technology areas. And large number of announcements were made, for example, about investment in semiconductors. But these things take time. And therefore, the kind of job creation, income generation that was happening was not what the population wanted. And again, in some of the latest analysis that has come out, in large parts of the US, the population saw that over the past 4 years, their wages had risen less than the rise in prices. Therefore, their real income had come down. There was another study done by a Harvard professor which said that somebody born in 1980 saw that their children would have a better life. But somebody born 10 years later are seeing that the children would have a worse life than they had economically. So I think all these factors have come into play. More than 70% of Americans said that they feel that the country is headed in the wrong direction, despite whatever has happened. And part of the challenge for Kamala Harris was that she was implicated in the decisions of the current administration, even though, as we know, it's not the vice president that plays a major role in decision making, it's the president. The vice president is really on the sidelines normally. But because of the manner in which her candidacy had come forward, she could not distance herself from Joe Biden or the Biden-Harris administration, and therefore implicated in that. So because of all these reasons, and then on the issue of immigration, there was a sense that the Democrats are not as strong as Republicans, and or as Donald Trump potentially, and immigration was becoming an issue when the economic situation was difficult. So these were some of the factors at play, aside from the factors that Prabhat and Professor Swan Singh also mentioned. But to put it into an overarching theoretical framework, we can decide what interpretation we want to give it. Thank you.